What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Titans sector. If you're a Titans fan, this is the place to be. The takes are hot, the passion is real, and the opinions are sure to collide. Today, we're really excited to bring you guys a really special podcast. And before we get started with what we're going to be talking about today, I want to take a moment to remind everybody, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and share our content with a fellow Titans fan. If you think they haven't seen it, we would love to connect with them, and we'd love to get in front of them and just really mix it up and meet them. So we appreciate you guys doing that. It certainly helps us out a lot. So with that said, Ghost, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, man. So basically, we're going to have a pod about CJ2K as we know him. Spent 10 seasons with the Titans, 9,651 rushing yards, 2,255 receiving yards, 64 total touchdowns, 2009 Offensive Player of the Year, 2009 First Team All Pro. He's a 3 times Pro Bowler, and he was the rushing title champion in 2009 as well. So kind of a legend, kind of a big deal for our team. But he recently has come out that he's kind of going through a tough time. And Van, if you'll kind of break that down.
Yeah, so as we all know by this point, because we're recording this pod a couple of weeks after this information has leaked, and I think all of the Titans fan base is still feeling it. You know, we're still emotional about it, processing it as a fan base, and going through what we can to support Chris Johnson. But as we all know, Chris Johnson and his wife Brittany were brave enough to come on to Good Morning America with Michael Strahan and conduct an interview that morning, really releasing the information publicly that Chris was diagnosed with ALS at the age of 39. And I know for the entirety of the fan base, it was shocking to see one of our heroes and legends of the field in that type of physical state. But what it's done is I think it's really provided a beautiful insight for the fan base to be able to rally around what Chris is going through, what his family is going through, and to show our support. For many of you, you know, you may not know what ALS is, and really it came to light in America back in 1939 when Lou Gehrig was essentially diagnosed with ALS and had to retire. And that's really when it came out. And that's why most people still refer to it as Lou Gehrig's disease, but it is ALS. And those are one and the same thing. And ALS is just a disease that impacts the neurological nerves and the brain and the spinal cord. And eventually, those things and your muscles stop working. And we saw some of that on display in Chris's interview where he had to use a computer to be able to speak through his own pre-recorded voice that they did before he lost that ability. And also through his own stories about being able to pick up his daughter and his hand usage. So it certainly was something that was very shocking and very hard to witness. But one of the reasons why we wanted to get on here today is to talk about Chris and honor his legacy. And that's why, as you can see, Derek is joining us for today's pod. And Derek is somebody that is well versed in CJ2K because he had the honor of watching him at many a games in Titans past. So yeah, Ghost, what do you got after that?
Yep. So basically, on this pod, it's showing appreciation for CJ2K for what he did for us as fans, and that we understand now that he needs the fans probably more than ever. And we just want to honor his time with the Titans today, talk about some like memories, things like that, and kind of maybe even further spread the news about like ALS and like what it is. And we'll probably post on the Twitter the link to his fund, or the fund that he chose to spread and kind of have people donate to. But we're going to go through today and just kind of not really honor his memory, but like just pay some homage to his memory and kind of help him in his new cause. So what we're going to start with is Derek. We're all going to go around and basically start by just talking about like why CJ was so special to us.
Well, man, CJ was, he was so special to me because he was, he was one of the cornerstones for the Titans running backs after Earl and Eddie, kind of that bridge to the Henry era. And man, he was just such a classy guy, and he laid the groundwork for the future. And whenever I was at the games, he was just so electrifying, and the memories that he gave me, and just so many of those games, especially that season in 2009, it just that's something that'll stick with me forever. And I'll be I'll forever be grateful to him for those memories, and I'll always cherish those, and I'll be praying for him.
Absolutely. Van?
The thing that made CJ2K so special to me, or one of the things that made him special to me, was he was kind of out of nowhere for me as a Titans fan. Um, Obviously, being drafted out of East Carolina University, I didn't see a lot of their games that year leading up to the NFL draft. I see things on social media where Memphis fans who played against ECU, they saw how electric he was, but I didn't have that luxury. I was an SEC fan, and there was a lot of big running back names coming out that draft. If I remember correctly, there were either 4 or 5 drafted in the first round of Chris Johnson's draft. And, by the time they picked him, I was a little surprised at the moment. I wasn't fully ingrained at that time in like combine watching and scouting reports like I have been in the past decade. And he really is somebody, to be honest with you, that spurred that passion in me even more because of how he came about. But, when I got to see his electricity and his 40-yard dash time and how fast he was, I was very hopeful. But, that rookie season just hit like a cannonball, man. And it was so exciting and thrilling to see that the Titans had somebody of that nature on their team and in their backfield. Because like I mentioned on a previous pod, I grew up watching Barry Sanders. And to me, Barry Sanders was somebody that was just, you didn't have to be a Detroit Lion fan to want to watch the Detroit Lions play. And, I can imagine how many non-Titans fans during Chris Johnson's era tuned into our games on primetime or otherwise because they just wanted to see CJ play. And so that was one reason he was so special to me, was because you just knew at any given moment, whether it was a check down pass in the backfield or a screen pass or a running play, that he could flip the game on its head. And to know that that was a player for the Tennessee Titans was just amazing. And you just grew to love not only who he was on the field, but who he was off the field in the community. So yeah, that's my answer there.
Absolutely, man. So for me, it's kind of a unique take on CJ2K. So, like, first off, every once in a while, a player comes around who kind of defies the odds, right? So, a player who kind of like rises above everything. And to me, when CJ2K came out, he was like that kind of player. I didn't know that initially because, like you said, came out of East Carolina. I didn't really know who he was personally either. So, the thing about him is, like, if it wasn't like the way he was dressed or the way he talked, if it wasn't those kinds of things, it was the school he came from, and it was like too small or whatever. But when he was drafted, it was kind of deemed a reach. I wrote this down, by the way, because I did not want to like miss any of it. So, but what I love about CJ is like how he handled all that. He just kind of rose above it. You didn't really hear him complain. He would mention it every once in a while, but he would just say he was going to handle it and do it on his terms, which I kind of respected.
Yeah.
And he did it with class, in my opinion. He was a like top tier talent, top tier person, didn't get in trouble to speak of. So now the thing is like he kind of outran all those accusations, not to be kind of punny, but he did. And he ran it right into the history books and into the hearts of Titans fans everywhere.
Yeah.
So because CJ came at a time in my life when I was diagnosed with a chronic disease. It's type 1 diabetes, completely different ball game. It's manageable. My life is good. Like ALS is a completely different animal, so I don't want to make it about that. But he kind of came at a time. I was diagnosed in 2009 when CJ2K was around, and at a time in my life when I was like lurking anywhere for some kind of positivity, CJ2K was that positivity, man. Football was that positivity for me. So he's like really an inspiration for me. He's a legend. Seeing him continue to fight and defy those odds is still inspiring to me to this day. So that's why we're kind of here and kind of want to, like I said, pay homage to CJ2K and who he was and who he still is. He's still CJ2K in my heart. So
yeah,
he's the man.
Yeah, for sure, man. So let's talk about some of those moments that CJ brought to us Titans fans, and maybe some of the memories that we shared, right? So
Yeah.
we want to start on one of our favorite runs, right?
Yep. Favorite runs. Go ahead,
All right.
Derek.
Yeah, man. So in September of 2010, the season opener against the Raiders is our home opener. We coming off of his 2,000-yard season in '09. We played against the Raiders, and I had end zone tickets. And pregame, I got to go out, and we were sitting down by the tunnel, and I got to watch the players warm up, and then as they were finishing up, they were going in and out of the tunnel and everything. And CJ, he stopped and he actually signed my helmet. And then during the game, he had a 76-yard run running toward the end zone that I was sitting in. And man, I can still see it to this day. I mean, where I was sitting, I can tell you what the weather was like, and I mean, just everything about it. And I can remember him running toward me. And I mean, if you think he looks fast on TV, man, this guy is fast. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, don't blink, man. This guy is fast. But that's probably one of my favorite memories. And it wasn't a playoff game or anything like that. It was just a week 1 season opener, but it meant a lot to me. And I actually met him that game, and so I'll always be thankful to him for that.
So did you get the helmet autographed at the tunnel?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I did.
And was that pregame, you said?
Yeah, it's pregame. That was after the warm ups. He had been out stretching out, doing his thing pregame, and then he stopped as he went in before they came back out during the introductions, and he signed my helmet.
That's crazy, man.
That's incredible, man.
That's cool. Yeah, I never got a chance to see him in person during that era of my life due to just life things, but I can imagine. It's funny you say that. Like, if you think he looks fast on tape, just see if he's like, just see him in real life. Maybe that's why Gus Johnson said he's got run away from the cop speed, which is
absolutely
probably one of my favorite all-time broadcasting lines I've ever heard.
Well executed, for sure.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't
everything
lying.
he says is excellent, in my opinion. He's got great cadence. For me, again, I didn't ever get to see him in person, so all of my times were just watching the games from my living room. And for me, my favorite run was the 91-yard run against the Houston Texans. Couple of reasons, I just hate the AFC South, man. Like, the entirety of the AFC South, I always root harder, right? And just probably like all of us. But the Texans, we all know why. We probably root an additional kind of inch or two against them. And, that 91-yard run, anytime you see a running back go over 90, you just get the chills, right? I mean, it's just like, you think, wow, that's incredible. CJ, I don't think it was, as shocking, because when he got in the open field, you knew he was gone. Like, in comparison to Derek's 99-yard run against the Jaguars, where he's just, killing 5 guys on the way to the end zone, CJ runs away from all those guys. But the cool thing to me about that run was, as I was watching at home, was, he hits the line. Eugene Amano comes out and pulls out in front of him. And I think it's the safety for the Texans that's out in front and coming down to attack. And CJ's I think it's on Amano's right side, and he reaches out with his left arm, grabs Amano's jersey, and uses that leverage to pull himself to the left and Amano over, which creates this barrier for the safety, and then he's free. And for me, it just showed so much about him as a running back, because there were so many things that the main public and everybody knows him for his breakaway speed, his 40-yard dash, but he was so much more than that. There was so many times that, like Barry Sanders in the backfield, when you thought he was down, he had that shiftiness and that elusiveness and balance to get away. CJ did the same thing, and he did it with regularity, So I loved that run, because obviously 91 yards get you up off your couch, you're screaming, you're yelling. But to me, it showed his balance, his vision, and kind of more the total package that he really was. So that one always stood out for me. What about you, Ghost?
It's funny, to piggyback on that. I had posted the other day about his patience and vision. Like, I don't know that CJ2K is CJ2K without that patience and vision, because there's a lot of, like, the first 10 yards of his runs, he's kind of like picking his shot, and he had it almost every time, man. If he saw even a sliver like that, like you said, pulling Eugene Amano over to block him, and then boom, daylight. And that's what, which leads me into mine, which was a 89-yard run versus the Jags. first off, it's just a fun era, man. There was a lot of good running backs. There was a lot of CJ2K versus Jamal Charles, CJ2K versus Maurice Jones-Drew or whatever. In this game, it happened to be Maurice Jones-Drew, MJD. And he had that big run. And it's so funny because I was at my cousin's house, who was a Jags fan. So it was last, man. So what's funny about it was so this is the run where he just crested the line of scrimmage, and that defensive player from the Jags met him, and it was head on. It was like a collision, and my cousin reacted so fast and turned around and was like pointing in my face, like, ha, ha, ha. And like I could just past him on the screen. CJ just took the step back and just cut right into like just bolted. By the time he was done yelling and screaming and pointing at me, CJ was in the end. So man, that was an awesome memory because
man.
Amazing. Just because like my cousin turned around and it was 7 or 6 on the board. And he was so cocky about that because it was always, oh, Maurice Jones-Drew or CJ2K. And that was all we had then almost. There was only a couple of years that we were like decent, you know what I mean? Or we really good one year. But so yeah, those were some rough years of him ribbing me about the Titans. But man, that moment was so sweet.
That makes it so much better, doesn't it? When you're either with a buddy.
Since he didn't know. When he turned around, it was 6 on the board. I was jacked up for that for sure.
You know, that reminded me, and Derek, you might remember this one. I mean, TJ, you might remember it too, but I'm talking about CJ's power, you know, and we saw that power and balance and his ability because what was it, 5'11", right? He was like 5'11", 200 pounds, something like that. But there was a game against Buffalo where at home at Nissan Stadium, I think we were wearing those throwbacks that you have on. Yeah. And it was like, I don't know if it was 3rd and goal, but it was at like the 1 yard line, 4th and goal, something. And he takes that handoff off the right side. And I think it's 2 Bills, but I remember one, I think was Paul Plesnowski or some funny name. And he just meets him just like a car crash and just bounces right off of him and strolls in the end zone.
Love that.
You remember that one?
I remember that. Yeah. I absolutely remember that.
Yeah. So it's like that type of stuff, you know, it's so easy for us to see backs like Derrick Henry, you know, or these tall, muscular backs, maybe like Bijan Robinson in this day and age.
Murray.
Yeah, exactly. For us, right? And we just think, oh yeah, those guys can truck dudes. But it was something special, man. It was something special to see a dude like CJ do that. You know, it hit different. No pun intended, but it hit different.
Absolutely. So we'll go ahead and move on. So next is just going to be favorite memory in general, just favorite CJ memory. And Derek, we'll go ahead and let you lead off again.
Yeah, well, so referencing that game that Van was just talking about against the Texans, where he had the 91-yard touchdown. He actually, that game he had 284 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he even had the one where he kind of leaked out and caught the pass with no defenders in front of him, and it was just like a bolt to the end zone. And you guys know that I'm a big fantasy guy, and he single-handedly won me my fantasy matchup that week. It was incredible.
Well, how many yards did he have that game?
284, I believe, and 3 touchdowns. That was yards from scrimmage.
Right. So you said that's the Texans game, right? So wasn't that the game where he had that 69-yard reception, nobody lined up to cover him?
Yeah.
What a mistake, by the way.
Let me tell you, man, those stupid Texans.
Wide open. We're not even going to try to stop him.
Yeah, man.
Hey, wasn't that Gus Johnson calling that game too?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like that was the best thing when he was like, nobody's on him. You know, just screaming.
That happened right in front of me. I was actually sitting right in front of where he caught the pass, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, you know, there's no defender in front of CJ. I was like, what are they doing here? And then it happened so fast. I was like, oh my gosh, man. I was like, what happened?
Yeah. It's probably one of those things. I mean, I know watching on TV, but especially being there live, you're probably thinking like, did a whistle blow or is this legit? Like, do we get credit for this? You know?
So
for me, man, I think just, I think the favorite memory is probably kind of easy, but for me, it was when he broke the record for all-purpose yards from scrimmage. Not all-purpose yards, but yards from scrimmage in a season, broke Marshall Faulk's record. So, I just think that it was kind of cool for me for two reasons. There's been so many great running backs in NFL history. And being that I'm Team 82 and I'm 43 years old, I've got a chance to see a lot of those guys in action. And when we talk about the 2,000-yard rushing seasons, right? I think about Barry Sanders. I think about Eric Dickerson, Adrian Peterson, Trell Davis, all these great running backs. And you just think that, man, some of these records will never be touched. And that's the way I looked at this record. And the other thing was, coming from the era where the McNair George era and the Super Bowl era, I was super happy that he broke Falk's record, like just knock that guy off the top. So it was like a twofer, but it was awesome to see that achievement by a Titans player. And it was one that even in the moment, like sometimes I think as fans, there's records that are broken that we witness that we kind of think to ourselves, that's going to be broken. Like, oh, he got the record now, but man, the way the NFL is, it's not long. Somebody's going to come along and do it. But in the moment, that was one of those records where I thought to myself, I don't know if I'm going to see this again. Like even at that age, I thought, gosh, this is crazy. And here we are. And granted, it's not been too many years, but we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it broken yet. And we might in our lifetime very well, because that's the way the NFL goes. But wow, what a special moment. And I loved it for CJ because it was so well deserved. It was so well deserved. He was such a focal point, both in the passing game and the rushing game. So that probably was my favorite, because I think it was like a pinnacle moment.
Absolutely. My favorite, so there's tons. I mean, obviously, like you could do like the drums and like these like little moments. So it's going to be the same game. Like I had so much fun watching that game, the Maurice Jones-Drew versus CJ2K. My cousin just absolutely like thrashing them 30-13. But here's what's the crazy thing is Maurice Jones-Drew went in that game for 177 rushing yards on 8 carries, which is a pretty good game. But CJ2K went for 228 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. So it was just so awesome because not only did I have the memory of the big run where my cousin thought he was stopped and we actually scored, but we thrashed the Jags. So he was like mad. He's like he was mad anytime he watched the game where his team lost. And then actually there was always those like, because it was kind of like a big running back era, those like CJ2K coming out on top in those was such like a feather in my cap as a Titans fan because of our running back heritage or whatever at the Titans. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's one of the things that Titans can kind of like hang their hat on. Titans fans can hang their hat on is our rushing, like the toughness of our teams and the rushing ability that we've had over the years. And CJ2K was one of the best, not only with the Titans, but one of the best ever. So that was a huge memory for me.
Yeah, that's why I pulled out that bobblehead for today. Right there. Derek, I know you got something. What do you got over there?
Hey, man, can you guys see this helmet? It's over here. Sorry. Oh, yeah, right there.
Yep.
Yep.
That's CJ's signature, yeah?
Yeah, man, I got a couple things here. I believe there's a helmet. There's a jersey back here on the back. Oh, man, my room's got all kinds of CJ. I got CJ everywhere in here. Yeah, just anywhere you look, there's something CJ.
CJ for days.
That's right. We got CJ for days here in the Titans fan cave.
That's the Pro Bowl jersey, isn't it?
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's from the 2009 season. Yeah, that's the Pro Bowl jersey right there.
Yep. I love. Now, there's not a lot of good Pro Bowl jerseys, like in history. There's a few, but that one I love. I love that.
Well, that one's not signed. That one's not signed. That was just one that I bought. That I'd bought whenever it came out because I thought it was so cool, and I wore it to several games. But it's just one that I wear on a regular basis to games.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Back when Pro Bowls mattered.
Yeah, back when they mattered.
A bygone era.
Make them matter again is what I would say.
Yeah, no more flag football and talent show or whatever it is that they do.
Absolutely.
All right,
absolutely.
Man. So I guess before we kind of like cut the show or whatever, if you would just explain kind of like CJ's new cause and like how you can help it and things like that, and then where they can find the information.
Yeah, so we'll put up a link in the description of this video. It's Mass Brigham General, which is taking donations in honor of CJ2K. I wrote this information down. They have a goal of $250,000. That's the target for the donations, and I believe as of time of this recording, they're up to about $55,000. So as you can see, there's still more work to do from Titans Nation, fans, and everybody that's out there. One thing that I've loved, and I think all of us on this pod have loved, and that we've taken part of, is that CJ2K came out on his Instagram and brought back the Ice Bucket Challenge, which, had first come out about a decade ago. And that was something back then that was viral and hit everybody's feeds and information, and so many people took part of and were able to raise awareness and raise money for the cause. And he brought it back, and it's been such a heartwarming experience for me to see so many people take part in this challenge, to raise awareness and also hopefully raise money for such a good cause in CJ's name. And even like the NFL greats, which on the daily, we're seeing these guys come out on social media and put this information out, doing the Ice Bucket Challenge. I saw Christian Okoye, just today. And it's amazing because, it shows the brotherhood, it shows the support, not only from just average Joes like the three of us here, but from those guys that have had a blessed life and been able to play, their dream and live it out. But you can go to that link, you can Google it yourself. And I would encourage everybody that watches this to, make a donation. There is no donation that's too small. No matter what anybody says, I think that if you have it in your heart to give to this cause, you should do so. And every single dollar matters. It's going to a good place. They're going to put it to good use. And it's definitely, in my opinion, an honor. And so we all took part in the Ice Bucket Challenge. You can find that on social media. And we all donated, I believe, $28 to the cause in honor of CJ's number 28. So there's a lot of stuff going on out there, and I would just encourage everybody to continue the support, continue the awareness, because one thing that I'll take a moment to speak on is the fact that oftentimes these tragic type situations that come up and shock us, those are the things that get our attention and cause us to do things like we're doing today, which is to reflect and to appreciate and to think about the times that we had, either with someone or with someone in our living room or in a stadium. But, it shouldn't take those moments for us to do that. So I would just encourage everybody that's watching to do that with not only the people that you appreciate from afar, but the people you appreciate at home and you appreciate close in your family and in your life. Make sure you love your loved ones. And you appreciate the time and the health that is given to all of us, because it was very, very shocking, as we know. And we've been through it as a fan base with Tim Shaw, but it never changes how shocking it really is. But you guys can go out there, donate to the cause. And like I said, we'll leave a link in the description of our video. We'll put it up on X. And I know that Chris Johnson and his family would appreciate that support. So now that I've said that, I want to give you guys a chance. Do you guys have anything, TJ? Do you got anything that you would like to say in support of Chris, his family, or anything else?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a crazy disease. It's just crazy to see it. I don't think it may have never been so starkly contrast from what the person was like as we remember him, and what that disease does to your body. I mean, when he couldn't speak, man, that kind of like, it was like a cannonball to the chest. I was like, holy smokes, you know what I mean? You just think, then I just immediately was like, man, I just wanted to help any way I could. Like he said, we donated $28, did the Ice Bucket Challenge. It helps spread awareness. It may seem silly, but even the Ice Bucket stuff gets the word out. And that is just as important, because the more people that are aware about it, the more people will donate and the more research will happen. And then maybe even they can reverse and slow down some of this stuff, so people like CJ can have time with their kids and maybe be able to hold their kids longer or be able to speak longer. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely don't take it for granted. Donate if you can. Spread the word if you can. That's all I got.
Derek, what about you, buddy?
Yeah, man, I just want to let CJ know that we love him. He's in our thoughts and prayers, and I'll be praying for him. And I appreciate everything that he's done for the Titans and the organization and us fans and all the memories. And I believe in the power of prayer, and I'll be praying for him. Tighten up.
Tighten up.
That's awesome, man. Absolutely. I think in closing this pod, there's so many things that have gone out there, and I think actually Buck Rising said it very well that the diagnosis on anyone's life is not a eulogy, and in this specific case, we don't need to look at that in that light. And so, Derek, like you said, positivity, prayer, belief, it goes a long way, and I know that the entirety of the Titans fan base is all in accord with that. We are all agreeing, no matter what your belief is, we're all agreeing for a happier and a healthier and a better future, regardless of a diagnosis for Chris Johnson. So, this pod, albeit short, has been one that we wanted to put out to just honor what Chris has done for us. And to be honest with you, we could probably take hours to talk about it. We could take hours to break down the memories, to share the memories, the specifics, and all of the things that having such an impactful person in the community and player on the field does for a fan base. But in a very short sense, this was important to us. So we appreciate you guys tuning in today. We thank you very much, not only for your support of the Titan sector, but for your support of Chris Johnson and his family as they continue to navigate these waters and go through this time. You can find us on X at the Titan Sector. You can find us on TikTok at the same exact name. And as a reminder, we put out new pods every Monday and Thursday at 8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern. We appreciate you guys so much for tuning in today to the Chris Johnson Pod. Hope to see you guys soon again. And until then, next time.